think that, when your work really reflects your values and the integrity that you put into it, and that really your work becomes a reflection of you, and that naturally, people that are aligned with that, and organizations, because we've worked with some interesting organizations, you'll just cross paths and they'll be, attracted to your practice. And that, so things like that, I think, happen organically. I think the emphasis needs not be on being a celebrity anything. I think the emphasis really needs to be on building a business and a practice with integrity, providing the best service, treating people well, being the best you could be. That's just gonna really shine in your practice and in your business. And naturally, people that are aligned with that are just gonna gravitate to your business.
Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, a safe space for ambitious beauty industry creatives to have real talk, get real answers, and practical tools to grow their businesses. My name is Aquia Robinson, and I'm a makeup artist, beauty educator, and the creator of Friends in Beauty. I created Friends in Beauty to support like-minded creatives, just like you, on their quest to connect, network, and build genuine relationships within the beauty community. Join me every week as me and my special guests reveal the keys to success and longevity in the beauty industry, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. You ready? Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Aquia Robinson. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast. I am so happy to have you here, and I hope you're listening to this episode in high spirits and in good health. Now, on this episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast, I welcome Celebrity Cosmetic Dentist, Dr. Victoria Veytsman, to the Friends in Beauty guest chair. Dr. V is one of the most sought-after female celebrity dentists in her highly niche field, specializing in cosmetic dentistry, anti-aging dentistry, and dento-facial aesthetics. With offices in New York City and Los Angeles, plus a well-established roster of A-list clients, no one understands the art of the smile makeover more than Dr. V. She decided to open Cosmetic Dental Studios in her late 20s, no business plan, but a clear vision of something totally unique, which was only the beginning of her disruption of a male-dominated industry. Since then, she has grown her female-founded business to oversee 2 private practices centered around wellness and well-being on opposite coasts, and it's her nurturing, hands-on approach that has continued to set her apart from her peers and attract an elite clientele. Dr. V's goal was to create a practice that organically attracted patients by exhibiting values like integrity, but she never imagined her mission would amount to an extensive celebrity roster. She is the official dentist of the Miss USA and Miss America organizations, as well as the New York Giants cheerleaders, and has treated a number of actors, models, and athletes along the likes of Hailey Bieber, Madison Beer, Angela Bassett, Jeremy Piven, Kate Walsh, Dasha Polanco, and many, many more. Oh my goodness, I had such a wonderful time chatting with Dr. V, and I learned some really cool things about cosmetic dental procedures that I had no idea about, of course, and just the industry as a whole. In this interview, Dr. V shares why she decided to open up her own dental practice and the evolution of her business, the importance of attracting clients that align with her business values, how your smile is the gateway to your overall health, how being first-generation American has shaped her work ethic, the intricate process behind her smile makeovers, and how she's working with brides for their big day, challenges she faces with balancing business and her personal life, common myths about cosmetic dentistry that aren't true, how AI is being used clinically in dentistry, and so much more. Let's go ahead and jump into this very informative conversation with Dr. V. And if you prefer to watch our beautiful faces, then tune in on YouTube. Enjoy. Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, Dr. V.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you. You are the first of your kind on the Friends in Beauty podcast. So I have so many questions for you because I'm really intrigued by what you do. So I'm so happy to have you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Before we jump into it, we're going to start off with some icebreakers just to get us warmed up. And so the Friends and Beauty audience can get to know you outside of what you do professionally. So the first one, just give us 3 random facts about you.
Okay, 3 random facts. I'm a huge animal lover, the biggest animal lover you will ever meet. I was just telling someone if I weren't a dentist, I may have been a vet. I love nature. I love hiking, things like that. And I'm also big on things like meditating and just honestly quiet time. I'm not a huge social butterfly. I do enjoy my time and space, although I do have a very nice close group of friends.
I absolutely love that. So are you more of a dog person or a cat person?
Oh man, I don't want to offend anyone, to be honest, but I am the biggest dog person. And yeah, I mean, part of this could be because I was a biology major and we had to dissect animals. And one of the animals I had to dissect was a cat. And that just kind of changed things for me a little bit. But yes, and without offending anyone, totally respectfully, I believe that dogs are the supreme creature.
I love that. Oh my God, I can't believe you had to dissect the cat.
I sure did. I was telling someone this story the other day and I was like, brought back all these memories. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. If you were on a deserted island, what 3 items would you have to have with you?
Oh my God. If I were on a deserted island, I would have to have my Chanel lip stain. I would have to, I mean, so when we talk about deserted island, do I have access to like a phone? I need my phone and I need Wi-Fi. I mean, I need my phone and I need Wi-Fi, and not so much to talk to people, but I need access to, I don't know, a podcast. I need access to Audible. I need to listen to a book. I need to do something to keep my mind kind of occupied. So that's for sure. So I would need a phone and Wi-Fi. And I don't know, maybe like I like to like keep lists of things and come up with ideas. And I feel like a deserted island would be like the perfect place to like brainstorm and come up with my next project. So I would need my favorite red Mont Blanc pen and a notebook.
I love this. I love all of the items that you mentioned. It just sounds so fancy. You're going in style on the island. I love it.
You're on an island, you better be in style.
Oh my gosh.
Because you never know, right?
You never know. So I have these pod decks here that have like random decks of cards with crazy, sometimes interesting questions. This is a would you rather and a what the heck. Which one do you want?
Okay, so oh gosh, this is making me a little bit uneasy. What is that one? What is the red one?
Would you rather?
Would you rather? And then what is the other one?
What the heck?
Let me do the would you rather.
Let's give her easy card, nothing too crazy.
Yes, easy, nothing too crazy.
Ooh, this is interesting.
I
I've
think
never gotten this one.
going. I think I have to go. I think the Wi-Fi is getting a little shaky. I'm kidding. I was just kidding.
That's so funny. This one says, would you rather abolish war or find a cure for every type of cancer?
Find a cure for every type of cancer.
Yeah, I've never had this card before.
Yes. I think I would rather find a cure for every type of cancer, because I do feel that abolishing war is a little unrealistic, because I think human behavior is human behavior. And some conflict is actually good conflict. I know that's a little controversial, but that's the only way we get change, right? So I actually have a little bit of background in this. And, the only way we make positive change is sometimes through a little bit of conflict, as we've seen, right? Things don't just happen totally peacefully all the time.
Absolutely. And that sounded like a question they would ask at like a beauty pageant or something. It just
sure does. It's funny. Yes, a lot of my patients are in beauty pageants. So that's a lot of I've always admired them for being on the spot and answering questions like that.
Yeah, you
Thank
did
you
good.
for giving me this experience.
Yeah, you did good. You did good.
Wasn't expecting this, but thank you.
You're welcome. What are 3 ways that you manage your mental health?
Really good question. I am a huge, huge, huge advocate of mental health. I think mental health, mental clarity is, like I always say, the foundation of everything. I don't think we can get anything truly accomplished without having a sound, peaceful mind. I and I just spoke about this recently. I think that meditation is key, and it doesn't have to be like a 2 hours a day, but it could just be as simple as closing your eyes for 10 minutes, getting recentered, refocused. In fact, I do this sometimes between patients. We have long 6-hour cases, and you have to just quickly put that aside and move on to the next thing. So meditation, some quiet time, and nature, I think, is huge. I think nature has so many healing properties, and just being outdoors is so relaxing and so healing. It's good for you physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love meditation. I meditate every morning. That's just a part of my routine. And I love being outside, like anywhere by the water or hiking. That's like totally my vibe.
Yes, that's actually one of the reasons why I love, being bi-coastal and getting, New York and LA, because I feel like the West Coast has so many places of natural beauty. It's so easy to go on a hike and get out into nature, not the same way we can in New York City. Obviously we've got Central Park, you can go upstate, but in California, it's just like sunshine and everything is so accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last one, you kind of answered it already, but you give another answer. If you weren't,
what is it?
So if you weren't a cosmetic dentist, what else could you see yourself doing other than being a vet?
Okay. If I weren't a cosmetic dentist, I believe I would, like I said, either be a vet, have an animal sanctuary, or probably work in some sort of international organization that works with education and women. That would probably be something that I would find really fulfilling, and something that I could really see myself doing if I weren't a cosmetic dentist.
Okay, I love it. I love the animal sanctuary, everything. A lot of advocacy, I see.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably do something with a bigger purpose. I think that's something I would choose. Yeah, and I'm especially a huge proponent of education for women. I mean, I think there are so many countries now where women aren't given that opportunity. And, sadly, giving women that opportunity is the only way to break those generational cycles. It's really giving girls that opportunity for education, because once you give them that opportunity and they go to school, you don't have child marriage, they're able to delay marriage, get an education, start a business, take care of their family. So it really does break generational cycles. And I think education is totally the key to that.
Yes, I agree. Okay, Dr. V. Okay, let's get into it. So where are you from?
I'm from New York. I'm from New York City.
Okay, from the city, like Manhattan?
So I was actually born in Brooklyn, and then I moved down by Philadelphia for a couple of years, and then I moved back to Manhattan when I was about 15. So I've been pretty local, yes. So in and around New York City.
That's fun. New York is like, it's so busy for me. At one point, I considered moving there, but I'm in DC. I live in Washington, DC.
Okay. So speaking of advocacy, I mean, there's so much stuff going on there. I mean, you're a very politically driven city, and I'm sure you've got a lot of interesting things going on there. Are you from there? Like, you've lived there your whole life?
My whole life, born and raised here.
Nice.
So there's a lot of political things, even just driving around. Sometime last week, at any given moment, you'll see the motorcade. Like, you're wondering if the president is in there, or who's riding around. It's always something going on in the city.
It's an interesting town, right? It's got an interesting vibe. It's funny how every city it has its own different little microculture. Even though it's the same country, you've got a little, I find that with New York and LA too.
Yeah. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I did want to be some sort of medical professional, and oh gosh, this is embarrassing, but I did want to be an astronaut.
That's cute.
Cute. Drawing pictures of myself in a spaceship when I was 5.
I mean, with the stuff that's happening nowadays, you don't necessarily have to be an astronaut, but you may be able to go to outer space, SpaceX.
Oh gosh, I have a feeling this podcast might be a little bit
funny. What made you want to become a dentist?
What made me want to become a dentist is really the way dentistry combines both science and the medical profession and being a medical professional and the creative artistic part. Growing up, I went to art school. So as a kid, I was always, drawing and painting, and I really had this creative side. And even in college, I did. And I feel like I never wanted to lose that creativity because I think that's just such an important part of life. The creation of things, creation of ideas, new things. And I feel that dentistry, especially cosmetic dentistry, is like the perfect combination of the two. But also, like with what I do, I think, working with people on their confidence on an emotional level is really key and important. It's not just like physically what you see. There's so much that happens sort of behind the smile, behind the scenes, to a person's confidence, the way they feel about themselves, the way their life changes after they feel good about themselves, similar to like plastic surgery, like it's like if someone had an insecurity their entire life, imagine washing that away. What is life like then? That to me is really exciting and rewarding.
I love that you mentioned that because I never considered art and dentistry like to combine, but what you're doing, I could totally see how like the artistic side of that is combined with like crafting a new smile for someone.
Yeah, exactly. In a couple of different ways, right? So one is like obviously I'm using my hands, so tactically, visually, I'm like working and creating something and I see it right there. Like it's a tangible result that I see. Um, but also, in designing the smile, looking at a person's whole face and trying to figure out what it is that they want, what will look good with the rest of their face, what will really optimize this person's appearance, but still have them look like themselves. So there are a lot of different creative factors that go into cosmetic dentistry, smile design, having the patients be part of that creative process. So it gets creative on a lot of different levels.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you went to medical school. So when you were in medical school, did you know that you wanted to be a cosmetic dentist?
So when I was in dental school, I actually did not know that I wanted to be a cosmetic dentist. That happened to me a little bit later. That sort of evolved. What happened was I finished dental school, and in dental school, we don't really have a lot of cosmetic training, right? So I took a training course after dental school, and I met some of the most amazing dentists that were so happy with what they did. I saw firsthand how they really changed people's lives. After that, I was sold. Then I just jumped straight into doing all the training I could in cosmetic dentistry, but it's not something I knew in dental school. I knew I loved the creative process, but I didn't really know what that looked like. And I think a lot of times in life, that's okay. Like you have somewhat of an idea. And as you move forward and as you progress, things become a little clearer. And that's just kind of how it happened.
Got you. Okay. So when did you start your own practice and what was that like growing it from like the ground up, building your clientele and now you're bi-coastal?
Yeah, that is a loaded question because I often say that the business part of the practice is, I would say, the part that requires a lot more effort in a way, because you learn the dentistry in dental school and in your training, but really building a business that is aligned with your values, that provides the kind of patient experience that you want, that really holds the kind of integrity that you want a business to hold. That's something that really needs to be worked on every single day. So I started my own practice, gosh, let's just say 10-ish. It's hard to remember right now. Time is like so amorphous at this moment. Let's just say 10-ish years ago. And, I started because I was an associate. I'd worked for other dentists and I never really felt like it quite fit my vision of what I wanted. To the experience I wanted to provide to patients, the type of dentistry I wanted to provide. So that's really what led me to start my own practice. And yes, I started from scratch. I didn't buy a practice. I didn't partner up. I really just started with one patient.
Yeah.
And that was just the evolution. So in answer to your question, what is it like now? I mean, it's still an evolution. We're still growing our business. We're still growing our practice. Every day we're thinking of ways we can improve. How do we make things better for patients? What are new projects we could work on that'll support our grander vision? Where is this going next? It's you're never done. That I always say that you'll never be done. When you're done, you're just, you're
Gone. Because I've realized that in business, it's always one thing after the next. Once you reach one milestone, there's another one that you want to reach. And do you think you'll ever open up more locations?
I don't know about opening up more locations. Between New York and LA, we get patients globally. We have a lot of patients that come in from kind of all over the country. We get patients that come in overseas, patients from the Middle East, from Europe. So I don't know that as an individual, I would open more practices, but expanding our reach can happen in other ways, I think, and working towards that. So, yeah. But it's great having an international client base. You meet people from all over. And what you do realize is that there's this commonality with people, women from all over. It doesn't matter where they come from. Everyone wants to feel good about themselves. Everyone wants to feel confident. I don't care what culture you come from, what part of the world you come from. I hear it all the time. Everyone just wants to have that beautiful smile and to feel confident.
Yeah, that's so true. I heard you mention on your
No, I was just gonna say it's a unifying factor.
Yeah, it is confidence, self-esteem. We all want it.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, I heard you mention on your Instagram. I was looking at your Instagram, I was stalking you a little bit, but
Yeah.
That you are first generation in this country, as am I. I'm a first generation born here. But did that have anything to do with you wanting to become a doctor? Was that something that was instilled in you as a child?
Yes. You want me to elaborate on that answer?
Sure.
Yes, I definitely think that the first generation experience has definitely very much shaped the way my work ethic, the way I think about a career, the impact we want to have, our responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to the people around us, to our community, to our world on a larger scale. I mean, yes, it runs very deep. That's actually a really good question. I think that that work ethic and that responsibility to do more, do greater, do better was really instilled in me at a really young age, as well as, the independence and drive to do so, because there may not always have been the resources or the guidance in terms of, navigating that landscape. So it was really a matter of figuring it out as we go. And I really think that shaped my character a lot, and just knowing no matter what comes my way. And I think a lot of people that are not just first generation, but that have been through anything, they sort of develop this skill set of, no matter what's thrown my way, if I don't know the answer, I will figure it out. I think that's like really very important in terms of life, but also running a business. So, the long answer to your question is that, yes, I do believe that being a first generation has definitely shaped a lot of my work ethic and personality in terms of ambition, perseverance, definitely a sense of responsibility for sure.
Absolutely. To make those parents proud. I still have an aunt until this day that asks me when I'm going to use my IT degree. I'm like, that ship has sailed, lady. Like, I use it in other ways, but
totally.
the doctors, the lawyers, they want you to do it all.
Exactly. But, I think it's a sense of responsibility to your family, but I think it goes beyond that too. I think it's a sense of responsibility to, your community, and perhaps, an inspiration or an example or some sort of support to a larger community, a global community of maybe people or women that didn't have that opportunity of going to another country, and that are stuck in their circumstances, because, having an opportunity to be here and have a career is a privilege. I never forget that. I think that there are globally a lot of women, especially, that don't have the opportunity to make choices for their own freedom and their own lives, so there is a responsibility there.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
It's a huge personal value of mine, so I can go on about it for a really long time. But I do think that people that do have opportunities And just by where they were born, they were granted those opportunities, they really do have a responsibility to, in one way or another, whether it be, either through example or some form of support, really help raise other women up or raise other people up along with them. This is not a solo journey. We're not doing all of this alone. We're kind of going hand in hand through life. And that's my philosophy on it.
Got you. Okay. So when you started your practice, Dr. V, I know you said you started with one client, but once it started to grow, were you intentional about working with celebrities, or is that just something that kind of morphed into its own thing?
That's a good question. I get asked that often. No, it was never an intentional part of it was not on my list of goals to work with celebrities. I think that, when your work really reflects your values and the integrity that you put into it, and that really your work becomes a reflection of you, and that naturally, people that are aligned with that, and organizations, because we've worked with some interesting organizations, you'll just cross paths and they'll be, attracted to your practice, and that, so things like that, I think, happen organically. I think the emphasis needs not be on being a celebrity, anything. I think the emphasis really needs to be on building a business and a practice with integrity, providing the best service, treating people well, being the best you could be. That's just going to really shine in your practice and in your business. And naturally, people that are aligned with that are just going to gravitate to your business.
I absolutely love that, because that could translate to all different industries, just having those values there and letting those people who are attracted or that align with those values, whether they're celebrities or not, find you. And I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think sometimes if you jump the gun and just shoot for the stuff that, like, oh, I just want to have, celebrity clients. Yeah, but what about building that foundation? You have to build a foundation, because it really takes a lot to even handle those type of clients and patients, and really have the fortitude to deal with that, so really, the emphasis should be building on the actual foundation and the groundwork and the stuff that really matters, the values. That's where it all lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any famous smiles that we may recognize that you've had the pleasure of working on?
Yeah, I mean, if you scroll through our Instagram, which is Dr. Victoria DDS, you will see some smiles on there that we have worked on, and some that you may not see on there that we've worked on that we won't share. But yeah, it's on our social media. You can definitely see it on there. But some organizations we've worked with are, I've been the official dentist for the Miss America New York organization and the Miss Universe New York and California organizations. I think those are great platforms for helping girls really build confidence, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's exciting to have a hand in, such a powerful organization for women
Yeah,
worldwide.
oh, definitely. And seeing women at that age develop the type of confidence that they do. Like, when I look at these organizations, I don't look at them as what people think of as beauty pageants. I think it's way beyond that. I think that these girls at 19 and 20 and some younger and some a little older, to have the confidence to go on stage and answer a question, like, the one that you asked me before, just on the fly. I mean, how many people can really do that? I think that is a skill. I think that's a life skill. And I think it really gives them a platform for the next phase of their life. You only have one winner of this pageant or competition, but the skills they develop, it's really, really nice to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I heard you mention before was about keeping your smile from aging. And I've never heard that concept before. We always talk about the skin and everything. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I was just having a conversation with someone else, and we decided that we're going to call it pro-aging dentistry and maybe not anti-aging dentistry. So yes, the premise of pro-aging dentistry or anti-aging dentistry is that, the smile is really where aging shows up first, like, as we get older, like, everything sort of, our skin ages, our hair ages, but so does our mouth. So by restoring the smile to its, natural state before any chipping happened, before any staining happened, before any volume has been lost. We can really, add, take 15, 20 years off of the face. We can add the facial beauty back. We can regain that facial symmetry, regain facial balance. I agree. I think the smile is like one of the most underlooked parts of the face. It is literally 1/3, the lower third of the face. I mean, it supports the entire lower third. And as we age, our teeth lose volume too, just like our skin. So it's really important to restore that, provide that support, and just have a more balanced look.
Yeah, I love that concept. I've never thought about my smile aging before, but
Well,
I'm
you've got a while to go. You've got a gorgeous smile, so you're good.
thank you. And one thing I've always heard growing up as well is that like just your oral health like is so important to a lot of other factors with your health in general, with the rest of your body. Have you ever been able to detect any health challenges that people have had or like that they didn't know that they were about to experience just by doing the oral examination?
100%. I'm so glad you said that. I think that the smile and the mouth is really, like I say, the gateway to overall health. Not only can you see things happening in the mouth before they're happening in the body or as they're happening in the body, they can be clues or signs to other things going on, like generalized inflammation, chronic diseases, malnutrition, nutrient deficiencies, dehydration. There are, possible infections. There are so many things and signs you can see in the mouth that happen first. So it's really important to stay on top of that and have your dentist check. But also, the correlation between oral health and systemic health is huge. That's another link that's often overlooked is that link between the mouth and the rest of the body. The mouth really is where everything begins, right? So, everything from the oral microbiome is really important. Everyone's talking about probiotics, right, for intestinal health, but your mouth also has a microbiome, and that's also really important. The pH balance of your mouth is important. The link between oral health or mouth health and cardiovascular health is really important. Any inflammation that happens in the mouth can be happening anywhere else in the body, in arteries, in your heart. So it's really important, especially for women that might be more predisposed to autoimmune diseases, to stay on top of their oral health because it's so interconnected.
This is so fascinating. I'm learning so much from you.
Good. I'm glad.
This is truly fascinating. One thing that we did touch on a little bit earlier was just about the confidence and self-esteem attached to people's smiles. When people come to you for procedures or cosmetic dentistry, where are they like mentally and emotionally when they come to you initially versus when they leave?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think everyone's journey is incredibly unique, and we meet people where they are. So some people come in and are, confident, happy people, and our job is to just improve their smile. We're not promising to completely fix everything in your life, but giving people that extra boost of confidence is really important. So I've seen people in all sorts of situations. Some people just want a little refresh, like for instance, maybe they're a little bit older and are experiencing ageism in the workplace and are up against a new promotion and all sorts of things, new interviews, and they just want to boost there, or recently divorced or back on the dating scene. That's another reason. And then, on the opposite end there, I have patients who have been through a lot of trauma, either physical trauma, either, an accident, potentially abuse, or health issues a lot of the time, cancer treatment that can wreak havoc on your teeth. And that could be a reason why people do this. And look, doing cosmetic dentistry is not going to fix their life, but it'll certainly help them start the next chapter. So I'm definitely cognizant of the fact that this isn't the fix for everything, but I do know that The smile is one thing you can't hide. And for a lot of people, this is like turning the page, creating that fresh new canvas. All right, that part of my life is over. Flip the page, let's start fresh. And for a lot of people, it's just that extra boost that they need. That's like the impetus to move forward.
Yeah. I like how you manage your clients' expectations and let them know like this is not the one all, Yeah, I like
It's important to know that. It's important to know that anyone's journey involves a lot of things. Smile could be one of it, a big part of it for some people, but it's not everything. It's everyone's own responsibility to manage their mental and emotional health. And if a new smile is something that's going to grant you that, or part of that, and that's an important part of their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you explain the overall process behind a smile makeover and what's the process and the downtime, if any?
Yeah, so what I do with cosmetic dentistry, dental facial aesthetics, anti-aging dentistry, all the stuff we've talked about involves a smile process design, smile design. And what we do is we take the patient's existing smile, we have molds and models, we will create mock-ups or a mock-up design. I can do that either in the mouth or on a model, but eventually you do see it in the mouth because we want to see where the smile is going. You always want a blueprint, right? You never want to build a house without a blueprint. You never want to build a smile without one either. And it's a great way to manage patient expectations and my own. I want to know what's possible before I start treating a patient. I always want to know where we're going before we even begin. So that's I would say the biggest part of the whole smile makeover or full mouth reconstruction, whatever it is we do, is to really plan this out really well. So after the planning process and during, we look at the patient's facial structure, we look at the patient's features, their coloration, and really hone in on the different details and nuances of the smile that really accentuate things for them. Then once that's done, we actually start the process and what we call prepare the teeth. If we have to remove any old restorations, like any old veneers or crowns, we do that. If there's decay or anything that needs to be cleaned out, we do that at that time. So point is, we want to make sure that the mouth is healthy before we start anything aesthetic, because I think that health is really the foundation of all beauty. It's not the other way around. And a lot of times having a healthy mouth, the byproduct will naturally be a beautiful smile. Right. So we lead with health, we lead with function, and then the byproduct is usually a more beautiful, more aesthetic smile. So anything that needs to be done from a health perspective is done at that time. And then the patient is wearing temporaries or a little prototype for a couple of weeks while our ceramist is handcrafting these veneers or crowns. These are all made with like a paintbrush by hand, by a human being. So there are a lot of nuances and a lot of natural details that go into these. We want to be sure that they transmit light really well. We want to be sure that they look natural in all lighting. We're moving far away from that opaque, chiclety look. We don't want people to say, hey, those are gorgeous veneers. We always want people to say, hey, that's a beautiful smile. So we do everything we can to make these look as natural as possible. My own personal aesthetic happens to be just vibrant but natural. But again, we take into consideration our patient's desires as well. So while the ceramist is doing his craftsmanship, his artwork in his laboratory, the patient is in temporaries. And during that time, they get to sort of test drive their smile. And that's a really important part of the puzzle, because we want everything to be as predictable as possible. We don't want any surprises, especially when it comes to your smile, especially when it comes to a procedure like this. This is already a little bit anxiety inducing for some patients, and I realize that. So we try to keep this as predictable as possible. Once the final teeth are ready, we take off the temporaries, we try in the final smile, we take photographs. The patient has the opportunity to see everything, which is why 99.9% of the time, my patients are awake during these procedures. I just want them to be as involved and as cognizant of what's happening as possible, able to, contribute feedback and help us make decisions. So, once the patient approves of the smile and we think it looks great, then the teeth are finally cemented in. The process could take anywhere between, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks on a smaller case to 6 weeks on a larger case. Sometimes there are more things involved, like surgery. We work with some amazing specialists, in an interdisciplinary approach. We have amazing periodontists, which are gum specialists. We have endodontists, which are root canal specialists. So yes, we have some team of specialists that we work with, and if they're involved, that can add some time to the process. I mean, I've had cases take anywhere between 2 weeks, and sometimes it can be a year or more, depending on the healing time, placing implants. We can't control biology, right? So we don't know how long someone's timeline is with healing, but we try to expedite it and make sure they're functionally and aesthetically stable the entire time.
I absolutely love this. And I do love your aesthetic as well. You did mention that the oversized teeth look. Is that something that has evolved over the years, or is that just like your special technique? Because your results look so natural.
Thank you.
Like you mentioned, like I would see somebody say, you have a beautiful smile. I wouldn't automatically think that they had dental work done.
Yeah, no, I think that overall the aesthetic is moving towards more natural, right? And in my practice, that's really what we try to achieve and accomplish is, we definitely want vibrant, but we still want natural, right? So, and also taking into consideration what the patient wants as well. And we happen to work with an amazing ceramist and group of ceramists that really do, this is what they do. I mean, this is their specialty, and they're a big part of the process with creating these beautifully natural, teeth with the nuances, the different colors, values, hues in there that make these teeth look really natural. Yeah.
I saw that you do bridal makeovers as well. Is this like a similar process with the bridal makeovers too?
Yes, we do a ton of bridal makeovers. Brides are, a large part of our patient base. I mean, when else is a better time to make your smile look better than before you get married, right? So that is, a lot of times people have been putting this off for a really long time. And then once they know they're getting married, they'll come in and work on their smile. It's the same process. It might be a little bit of a tighter timeline, and the pressure to make it look a certain way is a little bit more, but we get it done. I mean, we're accustomed to working on tight timelines and a lot of pressure and all of that. So that's never really the biggest deal. It's just making sure that the bride knows what she wants, is happy, and we can accomplish that. And we usually can.
Got you. Do you ever get clients who want a smile makeover who you wouldn't necessarily consider as a candidate, or do you always see an area for improvement or something that could be done to improve the smile?
That's a good question. I do have sometimes patients that come in for consultations that, I may not necessarily think are candidates for veneers, or I don't think they need anything. And I will absolutely tell them. I am definitely on the side of erring conservative when it comes to presenting treatment plans. I believe there's always room and time to do more later, especially on younger patients. So there have been several times when I've told patients, look, I don't think you need veneers. You can maybe do a whitening or maybe get Invisalign, and I have declined patients before because just of my own ethics and all of that. If I truly don't believe it's going to benefit them or worse, harm them, then I absolutely will not do it.
Got you. Speaking of whitening, is that something I've always heard that whitening kind of damages the teeth? Is that true?
Yeah, whitening does not damage teeth at all. I do it on myself all the time. Whitening is just hydrogen peroxide gel that goes on the teeth in the office, and we use a blue plasma light to help activate it. And it's an oxidation process, and it does not damage teeth or enamel. However, you don't want to do it too often because there might be a little bit of sensitivity with it. So sometimes my patients will come in, like, I would say once a year or so for like a touch-up.
I want to do that. I want to try whitening one day.
Come up to New York.
I will. I have to come see you.
For sure.
So look, I have this never have I ever question for you. It's nothing crazy.
Our reception is going.
I promise it's nothing crazy, but if it's ever happened to you, you can share like a fun story behind it.
Okay, so how does this game work?
So I'm going to give you a never have I ever question. And if it's happened, you could just share the story behind it.
And if it didn't happen, then I just don't say anything.
Yeah, it's something really funny.
Perfect. Okay, what is it?
Okay, so never have I ever used a dental tool for something other than its intended purpose, like opening up a package or, fixing a
Of
gadget.
course, I've used a dental tool for every other purpose other than teeth. Are you kidding me? Of course I have. Well, I used my dental scalers to try to clean my dog's teeth once, obviously, which didn't go fantastically. I've absolutely used dental tools for other things and opening things. Safely, all safely. Yes, of course. It's all about being resourceful, right?
Exactly. I do that all the time with my makeup stuff.
I can use for other things.
Yes. See, that was easy, right? That wasn't too crazy.
I was a little worried there for a second.
And we're gonna get the dirt, we're gonna get the tea. So as a cosmetic dentist, though, yeah. So as a cosmetic dentist, are there any obstacles that you face that you have to overcome? If so, like what are some of them?
You mean like in terms of you mean like running a practice or my day-to-day work like that?
Yeah, maybe running a practice, or is it time consuming with your personal life?
Yes, okay, that's a good question. So I feel like, a lot of my time goes towards my career. I think one of the challenges too are these cases that we do are longer and they're tiring, they could be 5 hours, 6 hours, and maybe we'll do 2 or 3 a day. And it gets to be a lot physically and mentally. And I think, like we talked about before, taking care of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health really becomes so important to managing that schedule and just staying physically able to get through the day, but not just get through it. I mean, and provide the best possible care, looking at micro details, making sure everything is the way it should be. So I think that becomes really important there. I take in a lot more effort and focus on taking care of my health for that reason. I try to drink a lot of water. I don't drink. I don't really go out much. I really manage my schedule in a way that gives me time, and yes, you're right. Having a practice and spending so much time on a career does make things a little bit more interesting when it comes to a social life, a personal life. But I think anything is possible. It's a matter of balance. I think that sometimes some things take a little bit more priority and other times other things take a little bit more priority, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Things won't always be perfectly balanced every single day, but I think in the end, in the long run, with larger decisions, I think it's all possible.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something I meant to ask you about just oral health. So if someone has poor oral health in general, can that affect the work that you do for them?
Oh, absolutely. So like I said, oral health is the foundation of a beautiful smile. So if someone comes in with a mouth that might not be particularly healthy, which happens quite often, a lot of times patients will come in wanting that beautiful smile, that smile makeover, but there's a lot going on. There may be, periodontal issues, gum recession, cavities, old restorations. There are many times, often, other things that need to be handled properly before we can move on to the next phase, which is the aesthetics. Sometimes they could be done hand in hand. So for instance, if a patient has a lot of cavities, that might be something that I could do all at the same time, so we can't put veneers on teeth with cavities. So that's a really good question. We have to make sure that the mouth is healthy, whether it be beforehand or concurrently. But that really is the foundation of everything. Yeah.
Can people still get cavities with veneers?
Yeah, cavities are possible with or without veneers. That's why after veneers, I don't see it often, to be honest with you. I have to say, of all the cases I've done veneers on, I can't even remember. I mean, maybe a couple that have gotten cavities, but it's all manageable. It's all medical, but that is why if you invest in your smile, and get veneers and get that smile makeover, it's extra important to be vigilant about your oral hygiene, coming in for regular checkups, cleanings, all of that, right? It's super important after you get your smile makeover.
Absolutely. So you've been in business for a long time. Is there any crucial step in oral hygiene that most people seem to underestimate, like they don't realize the true importance of it?
I think flossing is a big thing that's often overlooked. I think that most of the bacteria in your mouth lives actually between the teeth, not on the teeth. I think that brushing your tongue is often overlooked. That's another place where bacteria hide. A lot of the bacteria in your mouth live on your tongue. So I think those two things are often overlooked. I think that there are things that maybe people don't think about. For instance, the idea that maybe white wine is better than red wine. However, white wine is still acidic, right? So it's not totally safe. It's not totally the safest bet, because anything that's acidic is going to, make your teeth more susceptible to staining, change the pH of your mouth. So I would say, being careful with what you ingest, staying hydrated, and really just taking care of your overall health too. Anything you do for your overall health, be it, like I said, staying hydrated or reducing overall stress levels, will inadvertently help your oral health. Because with stress, people grind their teeth. So I do think there is a link between overall health and the health of your mouth. So just take care of yourself totally and completely. That is my advice.
Man, I know my wine drinkers are not gonna like hearing this.
No, I know.
Do you have any thoughts on people going overseas for dental work?
Do I have any thoughts about that? I think that if someone finds a provider overseas that they feel is qualified, that can provide a high level of service, I think that's great. I think it's important to look at previous work. I think it's important to look at reviews. The only thing that I've encountered with overseas patients that go overseas for work is that sometimes when they come back and there's an issue, there isn't someone to manage that. And that's my biggest issue with getting work done overseas. Some of the best dentists may be overseas. I've seen some tremendously great work from other places. We can't be myopic and say that it all happens here in the States. There are great dentists everywhere. It's just a matter of managing that patient. And if an issue arises, and look, this is medical care, this is dentistry, things can and will happen. We can't control everything. We control the controllables, but there are things that are just out of our control. So, if a patient were to consider going overseas, I would say make sure it's a quality provider that you trust and maybe have references on and see their work and qualifications, but make sure that there's a plan B for, when you come back and there's an issue. Because I've had many people call my office that have gotten work done in other countries, kind of, not knowing what to do at this point and had an issue with their smile.
Yeah. I like that advice, because I know some people consider like cost and things like that, but you're like, I feel like you should just invest in what you like.
I think so. I think that the monetary amount that people invest, is part of it for sure. But you want to, the smile should be lasting you at least 15 to 20 years. So it is a long-term investment and project. So you have to give a lot of thought into where and how you're doing it, making sure you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any common misconceptions when it comes to, or myths when it comes to cosmetic dentistry that you hear a lot that you would like to debunk?
Well, I think one of the common ones is that the teeth always look, fake and opaque and chiclety. And that is not the case. As we've talked about, we can make smiles look natural. Veneers don't always mean that chiclet smile. So for sure not. I think that cosmetic dentistry, often people think about veneers and think about that Hollywood chiclet white smile, but that's not always the case these days. With the new materials that we have and can use, we're able to achieve like a really natural result.
Yeah, that's so true. Are there any emerging trends in your industry that you find particularly interesting, exciting, or promising?
Well, I think the new materials that we're using for porcelain veneers that allow us to provide these natural results are interesting. There are things going on with digital dentistry that are interesting as well. For what I do in particular, we don't 100% use all of it, but there are things that we can and do integrate that are quite interesting now. And I think there's a lot of stuff going on with AI now, in terms of detection of things on x-rays and using that clinically to help us with our detection process, so we don't miss anything on x-rays. I think that's interesting. I think what we're doing with lasers is interesting. I every day use my laser in the office for gum recontouring and things like that. We do little micro surgery on the gums to make sure that all the levels are even, and we can do those kinds of things. Lasers are used for pigmentation on the lips, and that's interesting too. So it's an ever evolving field for sure. There are new materials like hyaluronic acid that are used during surgery to help with the healing process. So things that you're using in skincare are now being used in dental care. So what I'm seeing is a real crossover of the industries, skincare, beauty, dental care. My goal is to really help in that process of integrating and making dentistry not really be like that Lone Ranger specialty, but really have it be a key component in the beauty industry and in the healthcare industry.
That is really fascinating. I had no idea that AI was being used in the dental industry. And I always just tell people, when you're not in a particular industry, you really have no idea all of the ins and outs that go into it. All of the things that you just mentioned I had no clue that was involved in dentistry.
Yes, there is a lot going on. It is actually a really interesting, ever evolving field that I'm not sure it gets the amount of credit it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my
Not so much the amount of credit it deserves, but I think what the point that's not talked about is the value that this has in people's lives, and the ability that dentistry has, and cosmetic dentistry in particular, to change people's lives. People often think about dentistry as fillings and root canals, but I can't emphasize how much it is. So much more than that.
I just had a root canal like a month ago. Whew.
Oh boy, you made it. We're here to tell the tale.
I survived. Okay. Dr. V, what do you love most about what you do?
What I love most about what I do is the journey I get to go on, seeing people transform. Transformation is one of my favorite words. I think it is so powerful. I really, really believe that on a core level. I think that the power of transformation is something that we can all use in our lives. With cosmetic dentistry, I really love seeing that and being part of that with people.
Yeah, I love that. Have you given any thought to what you want your legacy to be with this work?
My legacy with this work is a grander vision. I can't say that it is one thing specifically or the other, but I do know that it is the opportunity to live more outside of myself and have a greater impact on our community, local, national, and more than that, and international. So, I think what I would hope my legacy would be to raise people up, particularly women, help empower people, whether it be through their smile or otherwise.
Yeah. Is there anything coming up next for you that you can share?
Nothing I can share. I'm just kidding. We always have things in the works. Right now we're just really busy traveling between New York and LA and focusing on our patients, growing our practice, figuring out ways to provide our patients better care and the best things out there. And then a couple more projects along the way that we'll be sharing shortly. But yeah, it's just a day to day,
Yeah. This is a random question, but what you're doing now, we're doing interviews and stuff. I would imagine a lot of dentists don't do things like this. Where does this confidence come from within yourself and being able to speak so openly about your practice? And I know most dentists are probably just practicing, their work, but not doing media type of stuff.
I think that's a good question. I think things have changed a lot, especially since I've started my practice. I mean, remember when I started my practice, there was no Instagram. I know that's hard to believe, but I don't think that there was. So I feel like that things have changed a lot when it comes to running a business. And I think social media has become like a big part of it. And it's not necessarily for the purpose of, being in front of the camera and or ego or anything like that. But I think sharing information that may be valuable to other people, sharing information about dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, about being a female entrepreneur, showing people what's possible, hopefully being somewhat of an example where people say, oh, I can do that. That's important to me. I want people to know that, whatever they set their mind to, it is possible, because I sure have had quite a few challenges along the way, as we all have. But I think that hopefully it's an example of perseverance and, the willingness to keep going. And I think anyone can do that. Everyone has that in them that they can draw out. So I think that to me is the purpose of social media. I have a little bit of a different take on it. I don't really want it to be my quote highlight reel. I'd like it to be more of, letting people know that it's all possible.
Absolutely. And this is definitely going to inspire someone. I'm pretty sure someone's going to see this and just be awakened to all of the possibilities in this industry that you're doing and be really excited about it.
Oh, I like how you said that. I like the idea of awakening to all possibilities, because I think a lot of times possibilities lie dormant within us and we don't even know that they're there, right? So sometimes we need that little bit of a spark or an inspiration to sort of, like you said, awaken those possibilities and know what's really possible.
Absolutely. Well, this has been such a great conversation, Dr. V. I'm like truly fulfilled. I can't let you go though. Yeah, I can't let you go yet before asking you the rapid fire questions.
Oh God, this is a lot of pressure.
You're good. You're so good though. Like you can run for a pageant after this. Like I think you're prepared.
Thank you though, but I can't walk in heels well, so no.
I think you got it. It's super easy. So first one, what are the top 3 keys to your success so far?
Well, I think that the top 3 keys to my success are definitely maintaining a certain level of mental clarity and calm. I think, when you're calm, that's when you can really make the best decisions. One of my favorite expressions is a ship sails in on calm waters. So a ship won't come in on rocky waters, right? So for things to happen, you need to have a really calm state of mind. That's one. Number 2 is really having persistence and belief that, like I said, and I keep saying, no matter what challenges are presented in front of you, just the belief that it is still all possible and the perseverance to be able to get up and keep moving, because I feel a lot of times one of the biggest setbacks for people is, to no fault of their own, getting a little too discouraged with things that may be presented in front of them, because people may be a little surprised by the setbacks we've all had, and I've definitely had my fair share of them that may surprise a lot of people. And had I not persevered and just pushed forward, I don't think my practice would have evolved, and I really wouldn't be working on things that I'm working on. So that's the second thing. And I think the third thing is, I think a little bit of fearlessness in terms of making bold decisions, I think is really important. I think not being so tentative with our decisions, making that bold decision. It's okay to break the mold, take that little bit of a risk. If we don't take a risk, how will we know what's possible? So I think, taking that bold step forward is really important.
Absolutely. How do you measure your success?
I measure my success with a couple of different ways. One is the impact I'm having on those around me, what I'm contributing to the world, what I'm contributing to my patients, to the people around me, the energy I bring into a space, the energy I bring into whatever I'm doing, and what impact that'll have. I would say that is my biggest measure of success. And secondly is, how I feel about it. Do I feel intuitively good about this or not? is this something that I would be proud of? Is this something that'll contribute to, like you had mentioned before, my quote legacy that we all leave behind, So I think that my measure of success is more of a long-term thing. I really look at the big picture. Does this contribute to my long-term vision or does it not? So those are all things I always think about.
Okay. What's the best advice you've ever received, or a piece of advice that's just always stuck with you?
That is a good question. Let me think about that. I think it was probably something around one of my mentors telling me that it is okay to be different. I had a female mentor in one of my programs in a sort of a kind of male dominated class. And, I saw by example, and it may not have necessarily been verbal advice that she gave me, but she really led by example and showed me that it's okay to be different. Don't be afraid to be different. You're never going to fit a mold. Don't even try to fit a mold. So, you might as well do what makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Dare to be different. What advice would you give to someone who right now who is just struggling with their confidence and their smile and they're just not feeling good about it?
So that's a good question, because I think confidence, is a very deeply rooted topic. So when we're talking about smile confidence, if there's an issue and they're feeling like they have an insecurity, like naturally you should go see a cosmetic dentist, seek advice, see what your options are. I think that the best thing you could do when you're faced with any dilemma is really phase it out and don't get overwhelmed. The first phase is just gathering all the information you need to make the best decision that you can with the information that's in front of you. I mean, this is how I handle any big decisions in my life too. If I'm faced with a big decision, my first thing is give me all the information I need, lay it in front of me, and I'm not going to rush into making a decision. I'm really going to take my time and digest all of this information and come up with an answer. And I think that goes the same with cosmetic dentistry. If someone's got, insecurities and is looking to make an improvement, take that first step. You will always feel so much better by taking action. That anxiety will reduce so much by taking that first action step. So just gather all the information you need, visit a couple of cosmetic dentists, get some opinions, do some research, and you'll be better equipped to know what the next right step is. But beyond that, the second layer to your question is, for someone who's struggling with confidence overall, and particularly with smiles, understand that the smile is only part of it, and do things that'll work on your overall confidence. Really think about your past successes, the things that you've done in your life that have given you that confidence, and use that as leverage to move forward. Your smile is part of the equation, but there's so many other ways to build confidence as well. And I don't think it's just the smile. I think there's so many things in life that you can do and should be doing every day, long term, to really build yourself up. So, I can go on and on about this, but, think of ways that you can have impact on other people. Work on your communication skills, work on helping others. That is always the biggest lifter up of people, is to serve others and help others. I mean, there are many things that go into building confidence. And I think a smile is part of that journey, but I look at people very holistically,
Yeah. Okay. I like that advice. What's a resource that has helped you in your business that you can share with the friends and beauty community?
A resource. Hey, you know what? Google is great. Let me tell you. That's a good question, because I feel in my business, I've had to be very resourceful. I've started practice really on my own, not really having all the information that I needed, all the resources. I really had to find creative ways to get the information I needed. And, researching online, making connections with people. Instagram has been great at making connections. LinkedIn, connecting with people that may have the knowledge or, the know-how to accomplish what I need, has been really helpful. I think that the plus side to social media, the plus side to the internet these days is the accessibility. to all this knowledge and all this information. I mean, people are getting their degrees online now. This wasn't happening a while back. So I think everything is really at our fingertips these days. And I think that we really need to hone in on that and take advantage of that and really build your network of people. There are some really smart, really cool, really accomplished people out there that are really willing to share their knowledge. I've met several of them, and it's amazing how people at a certain level of success are so generous with their know-how and their knowledge. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask.
Yes, that is so true. All right, Dr. B, this is the last one.
Yes.
I just want you to fill in the blank and just say, my name is blank, and the key to longevity and success is whatever you think it is.
Okay. My name is Dr. B, and the key to longevity and success is really living a purpose-driven life.
I love that. I love that. Living with purpose. Before you go, please share like your social media information, website, whatever you want, wherever you want people to connect with you in your practice.
Okay, so if people want to connect with me in my practice, they can find me on Instagram. It is Dr. Victoria DDS. It's Dr. Victoria DDS. Or on my website, which is www.veytsmandds.com.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dr. B. I learned so much today. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much. Let's keep in touch. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast. Don't forget, sharing is caring. Share this episode with at least one friend in beauty, and subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts so that other friends in beauty can find this show. Plus, we'd love to hear your feedback. Connect with us on all social media platforms at Friends in Beauty, #Friends in Beauty to join the conversation, and join our Friends in Beauty Facebook community to stay connected. Talk to you soon.